Good afternoon. In the spring of 1979, I graduated from this wonderful institution with a computer science degree. I have notes. I think perhaps I was asked to speak to Coach Allen's memory because I was probably one of the few ones that didn't know him when I got here. Coach was from the Rochester area. He did most of his, well, I don't want to, we're Division III, we can't give any scholarships. We can certainly encourage athletes to come and play with us. I decided very early in high school, we had a wonderful computer programming department, I guess. It wasn't official, but it set the hook. Potsdam was certainly on the map as one of the best places to go for an education there, but I also wanted to have a good swimming program. That was really important to me. So my father got me in the car early in October of 1974, the beginning of my senior year, and we drove up here, spent some time in Raymond Hall, and then they sent us over to Maxey, which wasn't being renovated. It was pretty much brand new and very, very impressive. Coach spent, it seemed like a really long time. It may only have been an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours tops, but he spent a lot of time with me. He didn't even know who I was. I didn't realize that until my dad said something to me on the way home, because he kind of got me out of the way. Oh, you need to check out this hallway. There's some really cool stuff down there. And while I was gone, he kind of wandered over and asked my dad, so Mr. Spencer, what events does your son swim? Oh, he's a butterflyer, okay. What kind of time does he do in the 100? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'd love to have him here next fall. And it obviously came to fruition. And after I found out how much time he spent, not even knowing if I could dog paddle, it meant a lot to me. It rose him up in my esteem, and I was so happy to be here. I remember my first semester doing ridiculous amounts of notes. I had to get stuck into a CS 402 class because everything else was closed. And, you know, fighting my way through my academics, getting my butt kicked in the pool. I had never worked that hard in high school. And by the end of the semester, by the end of the season, I should say, we ended up in a pretty good place. We didn't win, but I ended up being a conference champion, and the team was really working well. I had bettered my times, and I was so looking forward to the next year. And as you probably guessed, we did a little better the next year. Only lost one senior, brought in some new people, and without giving away any secrets, we won the the SUNY championship in '77. And then he left. I was pissed. I was 19 years old. I was pissed. I was angry. I was frustrated. He was a big part of the reason I came up here, and I didn't know what to do. Well, as Mr. Ryan will tell you here shortly, it's not like we fell to the back of the list of the top teams. We had a pretty good next year, but having said that, I want to take a short diversion to talk about the fact that I found out after I graduated from Potsdam. I went back. We had annual Christmas Eve morning swims at my high school, Maynenwell, near Binghamton. And the alumni, if you will, were pitted against the current team. Those of us in college did pretty well, and we gave them a run for their money. And it was a lot of fun, but I found out a couple of years into that my swim coach at Maynenwell, a gentleman named Mel Hugler, had swam for a gentleman named Doc Councilman. Most of the swimmers know who he is, but to give a little context, in the late 60s and early 70s, he was the head coach of Indiana University. And in 1972, my mother, long past now, but she drove me down to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point because that's where Division I nationals were being held. I don't know how she pulled it off, but we were sitting like 2 or 3 rows behind lane 4 when Gary Hall, Mark Spitz, and the rest of the Indiana team won their 5th consecutive national championship. If that's not motivation, I don't know what is. And I found out my coach at Maine Enwell had swam for Doc Councilman. Really? Well, he wasn't at Indiana then. He was at SUNY Cortland. And my coach wasn't a swimmer, he was a diver. But apparently he was kind of muffing his first and second dives. So Councilman moved him and put him in the 50 free, right before, this is the one event right before diving. He probably didn't place very well, but it kind of broke the ice and his scores came back up and he started doing really, really well. So it clicked not even a couple of years ago that Doc Councilman had bigger and better things in his future. And I guess Dave Allen did too. So I'm not angry anymore. I was very blessed to have been moved. My family moved around quite a bit after college, but we ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina 30 years ago. We were close enough that I was able to be present when Coach Allen retired, when they renamed the natatorium in his name, and unfortunately for his funeral. And several other Potsdam swimmers made the long trek down there as well. But at some point, Councilman left Cortland and Allen left Potsdam. That was in his best interest. And then reflecting on what's happened after that we've all talked about earlier today, so was I. I understand that, like it was said earlier, I'm not talking about the big guns, I'm talking about the guys down in the trenches. We don't need a 7th, we need a 6th. We all did that. We pulled up. Telly turned out to be a great coach, but we had to come to grips with ourselves, and we did, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to participate in that. I'm going to read briefly parts of an article that was sent to me by Dave Allen's longtime assistant coach, who's now since retired. I bumped into him at the peer-to-peer swim that Scoop and Mike Tabor participated in. Just quite a quick snapshot of a very long and very successful career. When Allen established the UNCW program in 1977-78, it flourished. He directed the UNCW men's and women's team to a combined 16 CAA Coastal Athletic Association championships, along with a pair of Eastern titles. Allen guided the men to an impressive streak of 13 consecutive CAA men's titles from 2002 until 2014, and he coached the women to 3 championships, including back-to-back crowns in 98 and 99, along with 97 and 88 ECAC titles. I didn't look that one up. Allen racked up 15 CAA Coach of the Year honors, 10 as the league's top men's coach, and 5 for his success with the women's program. During his prolific career, Allen sent 6 Seahawks swimmers to the NCAA championships, and numerous student athletes earned all CAA honors and other major honors. In addition to mentoring thousands of student athletes, Allen had a major impact on the lives of countless youths in the Wilmington community. Through the school's summer swimming program, many of them learned to swim for the first time under his direction. Allen is a member of 4 very elite groups. He was inducted into the Potsdam Hall of Fame in 1997, the Greater Wilmington Sports Hall of Fame in 2017, the North Carolina Swimming Hall of Fame in 2019, and the UNC Wilmington Athletic Hall of Fame in 2020. I was thinking in bed last night before I fell asleep, how cool would it have been to swim under Doc Councilman? I don't have to wonder. For 2 years, I swam for Coach Allen. Thank you.
I don't really need this, but okay, I'll use it anyway. So I was told that I only had 5 minutes to get here and speak, up here and speak. I already bored the wrestlers to death last night. I don't want to get in the way of you guys, right? So I'm going to make it short and sweet. Not going to talk about academics. I don't really know what my GPA was, right? The saying then was, don't let college get in the way of your education, right? So I believe that forever. Okay, so it's great to see everyone, and it's also a little bittersweet, right? It's an honor to be recognized by the Hall of Fame, as well as the coaches, memorializing the coaches. And I've thought a lot about it over the past few weeks, and it really means, especially in the context of the coaches that made it possible. And, you know, you guys, same with you, right? Same with you. And let me say first that it's ironic and a little humbling that I am the one speaking on Coach Kelly's behalf. Pretty much everywhere I went, I was the black sheep of the team. In some ways, I was a great challenge for him, and I'm sure I'm the only member of the team whose qualifying time for nationals and GPA were the same number. And swimmers will know what that means. That means it was barely above 2.0, right? So too often we focus only on achievements, the records, the titles. We all have them, right? Or otherwise we wouldn't be here. But the truest legacy of a coach is not found in a stopwatch or the trophy case. It's found in the people they touched, the lives they shaped, the relationships they helped build, that endure long after the lanes are empty, the season's over, and evidenced by all of you who are here today. Coach Kelly didn't coach fast swimmers, he coached people. He met you exactly where you were, saw something in you, and found a way to bring it out. Sometimes that meant pushing, sometimes that meant patience, especially in my case, but always it came from a place of deep integrity and belief. Integrity was a core value of his, and it was never compromised. I remember taking his phys ed class. We actually had swimming classes in the 70s, and I needed to get my GPA up, so I figured that was like a softball, right? Just a regular PE course. And I said to him, hey, Coach, I'm going to be in the water for hours later today. Do I really have to do this class too? He listened to me and he just smiled. And I thought, well, you know, he's acquiesced, so I got away with, you know, what I wanted to do. At the end of the semester, I checked my grades. Always a fearful thing. Despite being a school record holder, a national qualifier, and later a SUNY champion, he gave me a 3.0. Maybe it was a 2.0. When I asked him why, he said, because anything else would have been unfair to the students who showed up and did every bit of the work you didn't, right? So that's integrity. There's no hockey players in the room, so, you know, I could say, well, I didn't draw a hockey stick on my, on my final and get a 4.0. That was, I don't know about basketball, right? Okay. That was, or I don't know what wrestlers draw. I don't know if wrestlers, can you even draw? Like what, you know? Okay, I told you it would be fun, right? That was Jim Kelly, honest to the core, fair to a fault, and completely unwilling to compromise his values, no matter who you are, right? Coach Kelly joined Potsdam in 1977, inherited a team that lost 3 All-Americans, you met them before, and made us believe in ourselves. He changed our training, our mindset, and our confidence. By the end of the year, we had repeated as SUNY champions, which is amazing. That was my first year. And he earned Coach of the Year honors. What Pete didn't tell you is we defeated Cortland, a school well known for being an athletic powerhouse. Not really for academics. There's no Cortland graduates in here, right? Probably a better place for me, frankly, right? And Coach Kelly gathered us to walk out on the deck. We happened to hear the Cortland coach talking to his team, because we always got a pep talk, before the meet, and Kelly was kind of low-key, like it wasn't really like a rah-rah thing. And the Cortland coach says, and this is a true story, says, Potsdam is just a bunch of hippies and music students, right? And in typical Jim Kelly fashion, he just smiled at us and said, well, they have no idea who we really are. And then we went out and, the rest is history. After that season, he went on to Appalachian State, and soon after, Hendrix College. And I was a big Jimi Hendrix fan, so I was glad that he actually gave me a Hendrix hat, right, which was awesome. In Arkansas, where he spent 31 seasons coaching, both men's and women's, over 80 All-Americans, right, to your Doc Councilman comment. Coach of the Year awards, and taught kinesiology with the same sense of purpose he brought to the pool every day when we were there. He was inducted into the Hendrix College Sports Hall of Fame in 2005. And tonight, we are proud to induct him posthumously. I had to practice to, pronounce that, right? Into the SUNY Potsdam Sports Hall of Fame, alongside the team that shocked everybody but him, even ourselves. Coach Kelly's real legacy isn't in the stats or titles, it's in us. Some of us have been friends for 50 years. Imagine that. I mean, look at the beards on us, right? Amazing, right? What was that you said about the old age home, Mr. Carvata? Right, okay. By the way, I had a ponytail when I was in college, and I shaved it off in the union and got paid for it, right? That was really good, right? These guys like Dan Wall and, Tom Carvata with the ponytails now, what is that? Is that like a midlife crisis? Are they beyond their time, or, how does that work? So, we come back here after 5 decades, and yeah. So I actually have paper. I don't have a computer like him, right? I think I graduated. The records we have held have been long broken, right? Except for Steve Auburn, who has held the record. To get this right, Steve, for 48 years. 48 years, he's held the record. That's something really special. Our picture, I guess will hang on the wall in Maxie. Mine was on the police blotter a few times. And will be an afterthought after this is done, right? For everyone but us. And we'll carry these memories forward forever, right? All of us. Basketball, wrestling, whatever other sport is in here. So I'd like to say thank you, Coach Kelly, for the championship, the lessons, the laughter, and most of all for the honesty, right? And the patience. We miss you, we love you, and we will always carry you with us. And I hope that this recording we can share with Coach Kelly's family. Unfortunately, they weren't able to attend. But thank you to all of you. Basketball guys, right? You got your 5 minutes of fame. I'm done.